All right, so okay, we're recording now. So welcome to another folding session. We're here with Shashi. Hello, everybody who's watching the recording. And well, today we're gonna do this thing, this Islamic pattern inside of a star. It's a great little design, and it actually sort of like ties in really well together with the idea of folding for Islamic pattern generation. And I think it also serves as a great solution for just collapsing onto an octagon, just making that sort of star pop kind of situation. So a very interesting design, and I think that it looks hard, but there's only one big important move. So all right, let's waste no more time and begin. So we start. I have here my rectangle. I'm going to begin by getting a square, and then the idea is to get a octagon inside of it. So now this one does involve several cuts in order to get the octagon. But first, you have a diagonal. I have here in a valley, so I'm going to put in now the other diagonal also in valley form. Now my preferred method now to get any polygon nowadays requires the double mountain technique. I gotta find a better name for it, but it's just a great way to bisect. So because we're still gonna have to bisect once more, we have to now fold the horizontal and vertical line in a valley as well. So now that I have all these lines, I turn it over now in mountain and I bisect each of these. So I have to select two. Well, this is how I like to do it. I select two like this. I put my finger in between and I sort of gently squeeze to succumb it to make it like sink. I use my nails just to make sure that the fold is happening there in the center. I do the same thing on the other side just to prep it. So no fold has been done yet, but it's pretty much ready. So once that's beginning to happen, I just now put the mountains together so that these two edges are matching. So match. And match. What's fun about this method is that now you have sort of a hinge happening here. You can pull this up. And you also have several references in the vertices of the square itself. So it kind of like lifts, and you can be sure that you're right by connecting those. You can do this for this one as well. Now, when you turn the paper over, so I have these two. So when you turn the paper over, you have to unfold what you just did first. So I have here these two folded, I unfold them, or rather fold them back, and then I turn it over. And I repeat the process on this side. Now I bring these together. So now that those two sort of like on this side they're done and on this side they're done, now you can sort of use them at the same time. And there you have your 8-fold division, only one segment remaining to bisect. So we have this flap here, so we can just simply move it in the direction it wants to go, making sure that the fold happens on the center of the paper. And we turn it over and we repeat this on that side, and that should balance it out. As we have 4 on the right-hand side and 4 on the left-hand side. So if we open it up now, it should look a little something like this. Now, usually this is good enough and we simply cut an octagon, but this time we're gonna sort of spice it up a little bit and find the octagram. The octagram is gonna be happening at the midpoint of the edges. That's like the biggest one we can construct within these constraints. So it just happens to be that we can fold that line by connecting the vertex to the center. So pretty instantaneous reference. So we fold all 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We open up. We can choose also, this is sort of like there are many points in this process that you can decide whether to go a shortcut or take the long route. Here, the shortcut involves us noticing. I bought this webcam to compete with the other one that I had, but this one is just as bad, maybe worse. But we have these 2 points where the radial lines are matching. Let me get a pencil here. So you can see where this line, the radial, kind of goes down and hits on the edge here, and this one where it hits on the edge there. So a shortcut would be simply to fold a line that connects these 2 points. That would be a shortcut. But we're not going to take that shortcut. We could, but we're not gonna. The reason being that there's also another easy reference to get these 2 points that we're looking for, the points that go through the radials. And that's simply just taking the vertex and folding onto where this line hits the edge. So pretty simple. So we take that and we simply put that onto it like that. And there, you should also be able to notice how this line matches on this radial. You can see those 2 are touching. And that should also happen on the left-hand side. So we repeat this on all 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so now we have the octagram. And this is what we're getting, right? So this is what we're cutting out. The way I prefer to cut things out is to fold both ways. So if I have a valley, now I turn these into mountains on the other side. So I turn the paper over and I repeat the folds I just did, but now I really crease hard on where the line is that I want to cut. I really go in hard with the nail. I don't need to go full nail on the fold. I just need to have the nail go really hard on where I want to cut. Now, if you're a beginner, this is a great moment to appreciate how these kinds of patterns are sort of interconnected. When we cut them out, we can rearrange then the leftovers and we could actually get like one of those, the bread of the compassionate fold, pattern, sorry, not fold. But anyway, we got to cut these out though. So we begin by doing a little rip on the line and then we travel. So travel, and then it hits where we want it to stop. So there I stop and I fold. And now I redirect my rip. So now the rip is on the line that I need it to be. And I keep it going. It's better to not cut completely through them as we can rearrange the shapes into something else, which could be fun. I mean, in a tessellation activity kind of way. And actually, I've been having fun just messing around with these leftovers as well. Not only arranging them in the obvious star formation, but also putting others into there and like inverting them and whatnot. So it's a fun little shape. Take away this one now. I've been thinking of putting time lapses into the videos, like actually editing them and to cut down on time. So instead of a daunting 2-hour video, you get, I don't know, maybe an hour, 30 minutes, something. Just like to speed through the folds and the tedium. Well, it's not tedious, it's just like, who wants to really watch something for 2 hours? Well, I do, that's a thing. But I don't know. Like I watch content that is that long, but it's, I don't know, it has to interest me, you know? But even then, like the content that I do watch that's that length, well, the only one that I can think of that's unedited and that long are chess videos. Just people that are very good at chess and stream themselves playing and having fun with the chess and talking about their analysis and whatnot. They're just very good at it. That's like the only example I can come up with of entertaining long content. Maybe other like video game stuff of people playing video games. But somebody else folding something, I don't know. It's instructive, sure, but when it's just a repetitive algorithmic process, perhaps, I mean, the advantage of keeping the video unedited and long form would be that if a person is also doing it, then they can follow along at the pace. But if, in my case, because I have, or I've been told, a fast pace, or I go sometimes a little bit too fast, then it can provoke feelings of not dread, but frustration because maybe I'm going a little bit fast and it makes the audience feel incompetent or at least not as well versed. So there's a hopelessness to seeing somebody, just do something that's difficult for you in a very simple manner, but that's also like why I guess what legitimizes me as an origami teacher, I suppose. But there you go. So there's the octagram, there's the leftovers, and we can like play around with this leftovers and we can get like this shape. Pretty obvious shape that we can get. And another not so obvious one, but it's also fun, is like to play with this like this. I think these are cool, like as this. I don't know why, but the way that the bottom matches to this is like on a line. I don't know. Seems kind of mesmerizing. I would love to see this like spread out. Maybe could be fun. So now we have this. How you doing, Shashi? You got yours? Nice. Shashi's got hers. Okay, so now we're gonna just put in the divisions we need. So, imagine, if you will, that we're working with a square. That's an 8-fold division, which is pretty much like this being a double square where we're at. You know what I mean? So usually in our designs, we have corners which we divide into bisections. The advantage of this shape as initial is that the bisection will actually meet another vertex. So we begin by bisecting this angle, which in turn will bisect this angle, which actually has a very beautiful arrangement where this point just matches to the center. And it's just very beautiful and satisfying because everything just lines up. And it makes you wonder about how several origami designs depend upon this square bisection. So it kind of suggests that when we summon this angle or this division, we're actually working with this invisible shape. And the negative space, this little bit that we're not accustomed to using, might provide us with some structure or reference that would otherwise be left to some other device, some other way of getting them. So perhaps this is just one of the first solutions that we can come up with regarding structure or Islamic patterns in general. But I think as far as origami goes, this idea of working with stars, I believe, has a lot of potential moving forward, at least in flower designs or plant designs, those kinds of things that sort of have a very specific branching out, or how would you say? Well, it's like a branching out kind of design. I'm thinking maybe some insects, but I don't know. Insects tend to be more, they are bilateral, and maybe that's the problem. They're not really radial, insects. But I don't know, there could be some kind of solution. One more. All right. So now the idea is to do a tato. So tatos are done by combining, well, the way I do tatos, those Japanese like message boxes, is by choosing two edges of a shape. So in this case, I'm going to choose this one. So this line I'm going to choose, and where it meets my radius here, I choose the other one. So what I'm careful of choosing is this corner. So I'm almost like keeping an eye out for this octagon inside. And so the idea now is to sort of like hide everything underneath this octagon. So we fold like one, and we lift it up like this. We fold the other one. And the idea is to artificially create a flap by combining, let me do it on the one that I actually annotated there. So pop, pop. So the important thing is to be aware of this rise of the flap, because the flap could be hidden. If we just did this without without this thing lifting out, then this would simply fall on it. But yeah, be mindful of the corner you choose. and fold both corners at the same time. Now, also a thing to note is that when I choose them in valley form. So valley and this one valley. But what's interesting is that this one also becomes a valley. So we have 3 valley lines. So valley, valley, and then here a valley. And now this thing that's left over, we fold one way, and then we fold the other way. What's very interesting about this is that we've constructed a little square here on the little leftover part of this. So we could keep this going, this idea going of the Tato approach. So let's take this, take that, make this one into a valley, and fold it one way, and fold it another. But we can also appreciate the fold that we just create and then begin to question, well, what if I just extended it? I'm talking about this line now. The one we just created, the one that forms this little square here. What if I just extended it? Would it match with anything? I mean, could I just see something else that will maybe save me this mechanical process? And it turns out there is. See? It's simply taking the point of the star into the intersection right here of the bisections. So it's like we're taking this vertex of the star onto these bisections. So that notice also that I turned it over. Because when we folded the Tato shape, this line was a mountain. So in order to respect this mountain, I turned it over and then notice the reference that's happening, taking the vertex to meet that, and we repeat this process. What's beautiful is also how the other vertices match on the same line. So that's also matching, and this one here on my left-hand finger there is also matching. So these 3 points. And also these points in between are also matching to some line that's inside of there. So a lot of referencing. Now you can choose whether to keep with the Tato approach, or you can just use the Tato approach to find the reference that you need. So you should have this star inside of the star. And we begin to see this formation that it's more famous inside of the dodecagon, but it's pretty much the same approach and idea here on the octagram, where we see a series of squares happening in succession inside of themselves, arranged, of course, radially. In this case, it's an 8-fold. And we see here how at the connection of these 2 vertices that I have here highlighted, this one and this one, we could see how this could begin again another square there. And so, you know, it sort of suggests that this could happen, right? Find another square inside of the square, in between the square, but we're not going to focus on that right now, but just to keep nice, exactly right. So Shashi's showing me that she done the Tato. That's exactly where we're going, actually. So I'm going to go ahead and inscribe mine. Now with all the lines, it's a little easier to just sort of like go down and down. And also notice how well, if we did this on the square or even on the octagon, we don't get as nice of a leftover as we do now. And so this idea of using the octagram actually came from the approach, from this approach, from the Tato approach. It kind of made me wonder, because in the square, you can only do what we're going to do on 4 of the flaps. But now that there are 8 of them, now it's going to get a little more crazy. All right, but here's the idea. You want these flaps, each of them, to be contained within the 8-fold division. So here's how this works. Take a flap, any flap. We're going to do this 8 times, but take a flap, any flap. I'm going to choose this one right there and squash it. So this one, we open it up like this, yeah? And we bring it down like so. And well, of course, it might help to not have all this overlap, just so you guys can see better. And I also unfold because it's easier to just be sure that this line goes out fully. So that this line meets on this line. Also, I want you to notice how we have these. So we have here what was the name of this one in the origami? This is not the rabbit ear, but this is the flower fold or something. I forget the name. But pretty typically.
Petal fold, petal fold.
Petal fold, thank you, Shashi, thank you. So we have this and we apply a petal fold to it and it goes down. So it's the squashed flap made petal fold, and we're not done yet. We still have one more thing to do to this. We bisect this. And this little guy right here, we bisect this. So you take the petal and then you put that down onto this middle line. This is so when we do the petal fold on the one next to it, they can be side by side. So now we unfold these two, we open it up. And here I'm gonna just show you what's happening here. So we found this like 4-fold star inside of it, which actually retains to an A3 star. We're not going to worry about that right now, but we care about this shape. Now the idea consists of actually syncing on these. So we have to turn these all into a mountain. Like mountain there, a mountain here. And there is one fold that we don't have, and that's the fold that gets to the center of it. Because now what we need is actually a cross that goes like this. We need this cross. So, you could fold it just like this, just very manually just fold the line there in a mountain formation, mountain fold. But you could also look at it in terms of where this line intersects here. So it's almost like combining and then this one. And we can do a petal fold there again. So this is the crux. This is the difficult part. So the idea is to achieve this formation inside of this little square. Now, we could repeat this process on all of them, or we could take the lesson that this is giving us and be like, all right, well, could we do a fold to pre-crease this information on all of them? And the answer is yes. Well, first off, we have this like cross in the center of the square. So we can extend this and it'll get us the one on the, so like this cross that's here, we can extend this line and it'll get us the one on this side. And if we extend downward, we get the one on here. Also interesting to take into account is that this is simply a half. So this line is simply just the vertex of the star to the center, the vertex of the star to the center. So if we apply this to all of them, we simply are cutting our work in half because it'll give us the necessary information to avoid any pitfalls, or rather to just, this is just pre-creasing, pretty standard stuff. So I guess my method of teaching is not very intuitive, but the idea that I want to sometimes convey is that you generate a fold, or you generate a reference by some kind of mechanical or procedural way. And from it, you understand what is being done and then begin to question, is there a way to do this by folding something else that maybe is easier? Or maybe I should just show you all the pre-creases right now. I don't know.
See, I'm here.
Nice. Okay. Okay, so now you have to apply like this bird base to all the little squares pretty much.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. So I refold the whole thing and then do one by one?
Yes, you can do them one by one, or I mean, you can also do them like in this way of like folding them procedurally, like fold one of the flaps like this, and then you go on to the next one.
Or what is the other way?
Yes, all of them. So what I like to do is to like only do it once, and then the rest of it just do it by a matter of sort of seeing which line it is and extending that fully. So for instance, in this one, I see that I have this, which pretty much extends to the inside in an A3 form. But if I fold this line, like completely, I see that there's a very clear reference right there. So it's like the vertices have landmarks, and that landmark is this bisection right there.
I'm confused. Which line you extended?
Which
line did you extend?
It's this one, the one of the bird base inside of the little square. Well, it's this one. This is the line I've just extended. So I had it right only on this little bit, but then by extending it, I see that the vertices are landing on these 2 points. So it's where the mid of the square matches with the bisection of the eightfold.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that extension, I can just repeat this, or finding out I see that the vertices land on there, so I can go down to the next 2 vertices and find the next 2 points, which would be like here. And there. I go up toward them.
How do you find all these connections?
What do you mean?
I mean, You need that analytical, that observation, to see all these.
What do you mean, like how?
It's
Because
difficult to find it.
I think it's because of all the unfolding I do. And because the Islamic pattern that we're looking for requires some of these lines to be extended. So even if I did it procedurally by doing the tato shape, I would still have to extend the lines in order to get the Islamic pattern that we're looking for. And when doing so, it comes to a point where you just notice that some things are just like too well put together. So you see that these points can come up. But maybe it is like just practice.
Yes.
Well, and also I think that, well, we're kind of like speeding through it, but there are many things that jump out to me regarding references and like coincidences. So for instance, this line falls on itself. So does this line also go on itself. So many references. Which I think is interesting for many reasons, like structurally, and also because there is actually a pattern in origami that constructs this pretty much, but because it's inside of a square, it has only a fourfold application, where it kind of like suggests that it could go for 8, and this is the way you kind of make it do that. Okay, so I've extended my lines. I have found the 8-3 inside of this octagon. Pretty much that's also what you get. You get this 8-3. And it also gives you this extension. So now what we need is, yeah?
I'm confused.
Are you confused? Where are you at?
See, I was doing this extension,
Uh-huh.
and see, I did for, see, I made this bird base,
Mm-hmm.
like, so I extended this part. Okay, maybe one more part, but after that I'm stuck. I'm not being able to do it. I don't know why.
Okay, so try to remind yourself of this star. This sort of like the guiding star for me. This one. Because this star is made up of the extension that we're doing. Well, you see here how the bird base kind of like goes out. This is the one that we completed first. So maybe this will help you a little more. This information is what we want to put inside all of the squares. So it's like these little squares have the bisections at all of them, at all the full vertices.
See, I'll do it in that way. I mean, the tattoo way, one by one. So
Yeah,
that will be easier for me. Okay.
right on. Yeah, because there are so many lines that it really is easy to lose yourself.
Yes.
And the objective at the end of it is just to be able to have a tattoo that is just not getting in its own way, pretty much. And well, finally, there's one more beautiful relationship here with the vertices regarding this bisection. It's simply connecting the vertices to these 2 points on the octagon that we constructed. These 2 points. So the tatoué has its advantages. The disadvantage of the tatoué is that it requires a lot of technique. But if you have the pre-creases in, then it's a lot easier. And finally, of course, the little guys there.
Tattoo technique becomes a little difficult towards the end.
Yeah, I think it's easier, maybe perhaps instead of finding out the star, just making sure that each of these squares has the following division done into it. Just putting a bird base pretty much on all the little squares. So this is what we're looking for. So you can appreciate also that it's a bisection at each of these divisions. Just an eightfold division. And because it's an octagram, it's just very natural to its shape as it is to find these references and these angles.
Written this much. And after this, we have to bisect this.
Yes, you
Fold
have to
it in
take
half.
exactly. You want it to not be overlapping.
Yeah, did it.
Wait a minute. Does it have this shape though?
And no.
That's the trick. See, because that way, when you have this sort of collapse, then there's no overlap there, so they're not getting in the way.
No, it doesn't have any overlap, but it doesn't have that proper bird base thing.
Yeah, it is a proper base
What
thing.
is, yeah, so what is the catch?
Okay, so yeah, just to show you once more.
Where
So
did I go
yeah,
wrong?
the idea, well, with the pre-creasing is also like a lot easier to do it. A lot easier. So you might benefit from pre-creasing quite a bit. So, just take into account that we have to get these divisions on each square. So for instance, the one that's easier would be this one, this little guy, just simply putting this on the fold here. Just this guy right there. That's an easy one. Another easy one would be, of course, the one next to it. Then this one. This also has a nice relationship where this division simply takes the form of a vertice landing on the vertices of this octagon inside.
Just let me open this. Let's take it.
Yeah.
See, it's gonna take time.
Yeah, it's just it's just a bunch of pre-creasing on this. Pre-creasing.
If I do it in hurry, then I'm going to tear this paper.
Yeah, I think this is probably a good one for elephant hide. Probably. Maybe I should get a second camera, like to point for more close-ups, and maybe I could change up the angles. I think it could be a good idea. Oh wait, are you saying something, Shashi? I can't hear you.
Oh, yeah. I said I have these creases, but I don't have this middle cross.
Ah, yes. Okay, so the cross you can achieve simply by taking note of the fact that it's a square. So that means that you simply have to fold this square in half. So when you do that, that would express itself by getting this vertex to there, right, to get the half. And when you do that, you'll see that the vertex of the star will land on the center.
See, it has to be done on this side or on the other side.
All these lines are valleys. So wherever you see that this line is valley, so is this one. So I'm going to draw in here the valley so you can see.
All are value. Okay.
All
Okay.
these are valleys.
Mm-hmm.
The mountains are the ones that go between them.
I think your volume is a little high today.
My volume?
Is a little high today.
Yeah, let me turn that down. Is that better?
Maybe because I can hear some background sounds like paper sounds, folding sounds.
Oh, I see. Is that better? Is it turning up or down? Is this better or higher? This is higher, isn't it? Yeah. This is lower, right?
Yeah, this is low.
Better?
Hmm.
Yeah, hopefully that's better.
So now I have all the creases. Now how I fold it now? How do I fold it?
Well,
Like a bird base.
you can either go the tato way, and when you go the tato way,
Tattoo is done. That tattoo thing is done. But now, I mean, how do I?
yeah, so you can, take it one by one at a time.
Mhm.
So when you fold the tato, what you want is for so the first one we did was on this line, this is the one we did at first. But now the one we have to do on this case is where the crosses meet. So then what you want is for these creases to activate in conjunction with the cross, so you get this. Do you see how we get this mountain, and then here a little valley? So the idea is that if you do that, you end up with a little square there. Almost like suggesting you could repeat this process, but.
What's happening? Oh. So many creases. struggling with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Literally. See,
Oh, take
I
your time.
think I've got this. I think,
Yeah, that's it.
but see, it's in 3D form. I mean, it's not flat, whole lying flat. It's lying flat also. Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
Well, you can
Look,
always like, is this like just turned down like these?
finally. Yeah, yeah, it's lying flat now.
Okay.
But I don't know how I did it. I just did it
Yeah, well, that's
somehow.
why the pre-creasing helps.
Yeah, true.
I don't know, this is very cactus-like.
Just give me some time to finish it. I mean,
Yeah, no, no hurry.
or maybe I can do it from recordings
No, no,
because
no. We got nowhere to
I'm
be.
taking too much. I'm taking too much time.
Nah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. We still got a ways to go anyway, so better pace yourself. All right, so next step. Once you have this bird base arrangement, you turn it over. Now you have their octagon with all this on the back side of it. Now the idea is to fold one by one the vertices of this octagon to the center. So one, and then you unfold, take the corner of it, you put it on the center, and you unfold. And it does help to like fold this all the way.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, so once that's done, now comes the another hard part. So the idea is to sort of repeat this process of the tato, but now with this octagon. So you kind of like take away or take up this flap so that all of them can like simultaneously descend. So once those are done, now you want to bisect these or like squash them.
What do I do?
Okay, so once you have the octagon descended like this, yeah. So
Squash
now,
it.
yeah, each
Squash
of
it.
these gets squashed. And then you sort of do this, you do this thing on each of them. That's like a petal fold. So the idea is to, again, like put it so that they're getting out of each other's way. And the way you could pre-crease this would be to fold these little bits, a bisection there. Man, this camera is not the best. Gotta get a new one. So yeah, these
Just change the color.
Yeah. Is that suggestion?
Yes.
So the idea is to get that.
I hope I'm not coming in recording.
Excuse me?
See, I hope I'm not. I will not be seen in the recording.
No, no, you won't.
Thanks.
Don't worry. But you will be heard.
Yeah, I know what to do. You have to record,
Yeah.
and I have to speak.
So it is. And so you see here what I'm doing, no? With this idea of the same process as before, sort of like now on a higher
Smaller
level.
thing.
Yeah.
In smaller paper, which I cannot fold anymore.
What you can do now is you can either, completely unfold and just take into account what we want to fold, and from there repeat the process. But I find that, yeah, perhaps the size of the paper is also something that I should specify, because this is so, yeah, this part of it is so like meticulous, and yeah, this is the hard part really. And this is all pre-creasing too. Like the reason why we're folding these this way is because we still have to unfold it and then use these folds in a different way. So we still have to like rearrange these folds.
It's a complex design, so I think banana sheet, or as you said, elephant hide, something like that would be better.
Something, yeah, resistant.
I just did this much. After that, if I have to make that bird base again, that will be very difficult with this size for me.
Well, guess what? We're gonna do a bird base on this.
Oh, very difficult for me with this size. So,
Yes. I'm almost done with mine with the squashing.
mm, can do this much only.
Are you getting these shapes though? I don't know if these are like petal folds or what they are, but I know that you do them on a design where you do like one of those flower designs. I think the tulip design. You do this.
Yeah,
Okay, so once that's done, all right. Wait a minute. I think did you do this though? I mean, did you? Are they all like not touching and folded like that?
just a second, and
Yeah.
I got it. I got it. Like we do for iris.
I mean, by itself, this right now is sort of like an interesting design because it has like all the layers of it. It has like the octagon, the 8-2, and then the 8-3, and then a little center rosette there, star kind of thing. So at the stance, it's interesting, but we're gonna take this one step further. And it's sort of actually like looking at the design that I did, and I think that it could go even like one step further, but we're not gonna. Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's
Yes,
too much.
seriously.
It's too crazy.
I need some tweezer or something to do with this. I can't do miniature folding and all.
By the way, if you wanted to get the prism, now's a good time to see that modification of it. Um, Pretty much,
Hmm?
if you want to get the prism, like these
Okay.
faces, if you wanted to.
Let me finish with
Yeah.
this. Sorry, I'm taking too much time to do.
Yeah,
Finish.
this is like a side tracking though. This is not like part of the pattern that we're gonna do,
Okay.
but it's a nice little sidetrack. And if you got this far, then this is easy. So it's also like, you can not that you give up, but this is a good moment of like, oh well, this is something. It looks complete.
Okay. It's not neat.
Yeah,
I'm
neatness I
doing
think comes later.
I'm doing a very shabby work because I cannot fold miniature things.
Well, also I think because there's a lot of overlap happening. So also take into account that what we're looking for are just the folds. We don't need the structure of it. So if it helps to just either do it one by one or just like just get the basic fold in it, and then that's it. That's good enough because we're still going to unfold this thing.
Oh no.
Yeah, we're going to unfold this thing and then like go one more time out. And then go into this thing.
very shabby.
Yeah, don't worry, don't worry. Okay, Shashi, so as you can see here, I unfolded it completely.
Oh, now I unfold this thing, right?
Yes, now you have to unfold the thing. And so here's the next challenge. What we've arrived at is, well, we have these bird bases on these squares, and now we have some bird bases inside of the squares inside of those squares. Can you see those little bird bases?
Let me open and then I can see.
Okay, no hurry, no hurry.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, I can see very clearly.
Okay, so now the idea consists of repeating this process, but now on those little bird bases. So it's almost like we want to sync, or rather to you know to contract on them. Let me just check one last thing to see here. And they will change state. So if the one before it is mountain, then this one's going to be a valley. So what I mean is, if these here are mountains, you can see here my bird base comes in a mountain. These bird bases inside are going to come in and valleys. So you can see the bird base, and then what you can do is do some pre-creasing to just make it so.
In the opposite direction, basically. If it is
Yes,
like this,
exactly.
it will
I
go.
think the cross also is like a little. It's a thing that you might need, so you can like fold this in half. And has that landmark.
Doing this. Mm.
I think this one I should maybe do a graphic thing. I mean, I'll upload the recording and all, and I'll just like, I won't even edit it. But now that I'm looking at it, I think that this one would benefit enormously from actually having some graphical reference. Just being able to like, trace your steps and like notice what's happening and where and what. But I guess it's also like, okay, now that I'm doing it and teaching it rather than just doing it, I think I see the trick now. I see that it's pretty tricky. But at the same time, it's just very, very nice to see how it fits. So it's like, it kind of goes both ways there. So what I'm doing here is pretty much just folding the bird bases in the state that I need them to be, but like a complete extension of them. So I kind of like, I focus on the bird base here. And so I know that I want all these lines to be valleys. And then of course the cross also has to be a valley in order for this to work. So, just taking that into account, I can just extend the lines and I have some reference of them. And what's interesting is that when we start to fold these lines of the bird bases inside, we will see that there's actually plenty of landmarks. So that's something that we have to take into account, and that it'll help us enormously moving forward. So this bird base, for instance, you see here how when I fold those lines or extend them, I see that my vertex lands on the inside of this one. So it's like this one lands on this point. And that line is part of this bird base right here. And when I extend the other bird base line, I see that it falls on this point and on this point. So there's several landmarks once more. And also it's coming in where this square is touching. So this next part of it is just a lot of like pressure pointing and just like a lot of pressing in order to get this sort of containment, if you will. Sort of like another bird base is happening.
Oh, I'm exhausted.
You're exhausted?
Yes.
Yeah,
See,
it
it's
is.
almost midnight now.
Yeah. If you gotta go, I understand, you know.
Yeah, I want to finish it, but let me see how much I can do it, how much my paper can take it, because my paper is exhausted now. So if it starts getting tearing, then I'll have to stop.
Yeah. No, yeah, because then you would have to like restart.
Yeah, I want to make that building sort of shape in the end, which you showed.
The tower shape?
The tower shape.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful shape. This is hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, we need a different paper for this, first of all, and a little bigger paper. Then it won't be that difficult once we understand this. I mean, once I understand
Yeah, the understanding is, I think, the real hard part. Once you understand it, of course, it just decreases the difficulty, but it's such an eye opener once the concept is digested or understood, that then it becomes just a challenge in being able to do it cleanly.
So now I turn the paper over and then make that bird fold, right?
Yeah, you have to do the little bird base now.
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea of the little bird base is that now, once that's done, then this octagon can rest nicely, sort of like inside of that weird found formation, as this sort of contracts.
Uh,
I'm sorry,
my
Shashi.
my paper is revolting basically. So that's why I'm not being able to do it.
Is it too thick? Is that the problem?
See, it's normal A4 size paper.
Mm.
Yeah, printer paper. But after so many folds, it is revolting now.
Okay, then in that case, well, perhaps we should look into folding the pattern, the Islamic pattern that's underneath that we wanted to get, instead of the structure. Because I think that even like this, what I'm doing is kind of secondary, but it's sort of like how everything just solves like in one go. Like once you solve for this, then everything else is just there. So we can like do a little back tracing here, do it backwards.
So are we done with the creases for Islamic pattern?
Not quite. We just are missing one last one. Last thing we need to crease. And that's pretty much just like an A3 inside of that octagon that we constructed here. So almost done. So let me just unfold this thing, but this is sort of like where we wanted it to go. Man, this camera is not that best. Sorry. So as you can see, what these little bird bases do is bring this platform in the sync motion.
Mm.
Anyway, but what we still need is just an A3 inside of this octagon. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and just simply inscribe an A3 inside of this thing. So actually, if you were keeping up with the bird bases, that is a line of those little bird bases. I don't know why I didn't actually fold those bird bases, but yeah. This reference is the vertex to the smaller division bird base here. This intersection. I'm gonna redo this recording.
So we have to do what? This is this star. What do we have to do?
Well, there's several ways you can look at it. Now, I unfolded it completely, and I'm taking the star line, the vertex of the star, and putting it to match with this bisection right there.
Okay.
So, yeah, like this one all the way up to here.
But this line is already there.
Yeah, okay, then you got it. I don't know why I didn't have it in, but it's part of the little bird bases, isn't it? Okay, then if you have that line, then you're pretty much done. Okay, so now let me take out a marker and we can just write the pattern down.
actually, not all. Not all.
Yeah. I'm gonna erase these references just so that okay. So the inscription of the pattern goes from this smaller A3, so we could, start from there and just take into account the bottom part of the petal. So that is to say this part, sort of like the smaller octagon, if you will. So those 8 points pertain to the smallest octagon in the figure. And now these lines go up, 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 and then they hit on the smaller bird base that we constructed, and that's where they stop on this line. So this line goes up, and then it hits on there and it stops. So this line goes up and hits on this line and stops. Goes up and hits on that line and stops. And then this bird base actually completes and goes into it. Actually, this one doesn't stop. This one goes on further. Yeah. And goes to here. So just a little bit after you can see that they actually match together, right? Now, I don't know why I don't have this line completely, but it is necessary. But I do have a little bit of it. It's like this cross, But all I really need is like this part of it. I don't really need this. All right, Shashi. Well, thank you for being here, and yeah, I'll have to redo this lesson in another more in a better manner, I think. But the idea is solid, and it's there. It's just a matter of the execution, I suppose. And yeah, just keep an eye out for like these shield shapes. These come in, come in, come in. You should see some line. If it helps to extend these, then I say go for it. You should see that it actually they do match with this one, so you could extend those. Can you see okay? Is that something that's clear?
Mm-hmm. I
Okay.
think another 10 minutes and it will be done.
Yeah,
Just
pretty much. And then, well, actually, what we're missing is just like this star, but now on these points. But we do have like most of the information.
yeah,
Yeah, if you gotta go, Shashi, then you gotta go. And I understand. And
yeah.
thank you very much for being
Bye.
here, for your support.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Sleep well. Take care. Good night.
Bye. Bye.
So here, what I'm looking for, man, I should have. Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not happy with these results. I'm not happy with how this is turning out. Even though I spent 2 hours in this thing, I'm still not satisfied, and I have to restart this thing again because, well, the allure was, of course, that we would not be folding the Islamic pattern itself, but rather a structure, a substructure, and from there the Islamic pattern would originate. It turns out that the substructure is actually quite the challenge to achieve or to be able to construct. And therefore, it creates more of a problem than it does a solution. And even though that perhaps for me that I've sort of like been discovering these and like playing with them quite a lot, I still forget how unfamiliar these can be, either to the person who is not initiated in Islamic patterns or the person who simply just isn't that into folding complicated things. And this one is fairly complicated if you want it to be. Now, maybe, and I'm gonna have to redo this video again. So I'm gonna upload it as it is, but I am still just putting this out there that this one will need some redoing on my part. That is to say, I want to make a video that's sort of short, sweet, and to the point, that just has all the references very clearly dissected and diagnosed, and you can just, just follow a certain series of steps, and that'll give you the result that you want. And everything else just be sort of secondary. Look at how messy it is, though. I mean, it's pretty messy, but still there. And well, of course, this extension was needed in order to get like this part of the pattern. But then even so, like, why does it, I mean, it's so weird that it's so incomplete the way it is. Like right now, this sort of arrangement as I have it, why are these not fully there? And what's cool about, I mean, what's sort of like the shame about it is that this one is so landmarked. And the shame is that it sort of feels, I don't know. So now we kind of need this cross. And when it matches on this point, hits on where we want it to. We actually already have it, not completely, but it's part of the bird base. So we should have started there, huh? It's like this square bird base part of it. Yeah, I mean the bird base is pretty much like that part of the pattern that we needed. So that first bird base is necessary. The second bird base might actually benefit from not being folded as a result of the overlap as we did it in this session, but more to do with actually using the landmarks and just getting all the pre-creases in first. Not trying to get in the barrel before the horse, kind of that situation, you know. I mean, at this point also, it's so messy and so convoluted, and it's been 2 hours that it almost feels like this session should not be uploaded. Rather, I should work today on editing and recording, rather recording and then editing, just the steps on how to get it, and then that's it. Because the session itself was a fluke. I mean, I've been trying to promote these sessions, but I don't think they're working like I intended them to. I don't think, um, yeah, I think that I do need some restructuring, some reality check. There we go. Now it makes more sense. Now it's just like a simple 1, 2, 3 process. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, no, 2 hours, 2.5 hours is too much. And also I've like stopped being in focus. I don't know, man. I might just like speed this up, just like make a time lapse of the session, call it a day. Maybe talk over it, a little voiceover there. I don't know. I hyped it up, and maybe it didn't live up to the expectations. But anyway, there it is in and of itself. Yeah, now it's just a matter of like how to compress it into this shape of, you know, of the tower. But it involves sort of like taking these bird bases and like compressing them, while simultaneously, you know, like compressing these other bird bases too. It's like a bird base nested, a nested bird base arrangement. And what's interesting is that how it changes state, like how it goes from a valley bird base to a mountain bird base. You know. But anyway, I'm just gonna do a time lapse of the thing. So if that's the case, should I finish this? And if not, I mean, the thing is, I mean, what do people want, man? What do people want? What do you want? What do I want? I want responsibility. I want this to be fun. I hate working. So I think it just boils down to the fact that I want to avoid work. And boy, do I have work to do. And this isn't it. And it's part of it, but it's not clear. So it really like trips on itself, and it takes away so much time and energy that I wonder if it's worth it. If it returns what I give it. And the ambition of having these folding sessions is supposed to be like fulfilling a need, fulfilling the Patreons and making them happy, and then just like having a little session of them and just enjoying the little community that we're building up. But it's not doing that. It's just me folding by myself for 2.5 hours and Shashi coming in and being nice and like hanging out for like 3 hours here. So there's a definite need for restructuring. So we'll do it again. We'll leave it there for now. So thank you very much for joining if this actually goes up. And if it doesn't, well, then you know why.